A lot has been said recently, and rightfully so, about Andrew Wiggins' awesome performance in the finals, and just in the playoffs in general. Um, but like this obviously isn't always how Andrew Wiggins was, especially not at the highest levels. As a prospect, Wiggins looked pretty different from this. Obviously, was the number one pick, and for many years was kind of maligned in Minnesota for his inefficiency. But the truth is, he was miscast as a primary scorer and as someone who can carry offensive load. And those kind of issues were pretty obvious in his Kansas tape. So we're gonna break down, what Andrew Wiggins looked like in college, and how we could have surmised that he arrives here, and of course what we can learn going forward. So again, like Andrew Wiggins was tasked with a very heavy creation load. Again, like 25 usage, as we can see, just like generally took a lot of shots. And he definitely had good moments using his crazy athletic tools, but there were also a lot of rough moments. You can see plays like this where like the handle isn't super great, and he was prone to taking a lot of really difficult shots. That there are a lot of better decisions here than like a contested pull up mid with 20 seconds on the shot clock. But you see plays like this where Andrew Wiggins was used as a cutter and is able to kind of make a sharp cut into a dunk backdoor. So this is a more functional application of Andrew Wiggins' tools that we saw on his tape. But again, something that I think maybe was under discussed for his prospect status. As I feel like cutting is something that maybe is above a lot of number one picks. But again, we see Wiggins this time against a set defense. He is the main one creating offense. He is the primary decision maker here. When he dribbles straight into a one pass away help and isn't able to make this pretty simple kick up pass. I think they call it a foul here, but still, this is a pretty simple decision that Wiggins unfortunately wasn't able to hit. But I think it's important that we look at Wiggins' role, because role is so important. I think, if anything else, Wiggins' performance underscores how important analyzing and understanding role is, not just in prospect scouting, but in valuing NBA players. And as like a third or fourth star next to Curry and Clay and Draymond, Wiggins has found his niche. He's found his role. And there were flashes of this, fewer of them, but moments of him, attacking off of the catch, kind of being able to punish a switch like this, and using his footwork and his touch to finish here through some contact. As well as he was really effective attacking closeouts when he was able to do so, because Wiggins was so explosive, not the burstiest guy in the world, and the handle was an issue as we kind of seen, but pretty strong already at this point, very explosive, could finish with both hands as well. You kind of see him hop and jump forward into this little lefty floater. Again, this is just like a pretty simple little secondary pick and roll, just a straight line drive, using his strides and his extension to finish. Like, none of this is crazy offense, and none of this is, incredible primary scoring like, maybe people hope for Wiggins, or, as he did in Minnesota for so many years. But this is the stuff he's doing in Golden State nowadays. And you can see him, using the handle he does have here to create separation and finish really strong. There's more different ways of closeout attacking. We continue to see it this time. He kind of, leans a little bit backwards and isn't able to hit. And of course, it wasn't perfect. Off-ball play is a skill, which I think a lot of people maybe undervalue. Is that it took Andrew Wiggins years and years, like over half a decade, to get good and to figure out how to play off ball and how to play in a limited role and how to best maximize situations like closeout attacking, where obviously his tools were impressive and took over at times in college, but he was also, routinely kind of stuck where he wasn't able to get separation and he threw up bad shots. And that was a skill that he had to learn. And then we go back to this first play that we watched, and you can see how critical it is. This is a straight line drive, using his incredible explosion to finish here, but the defense is not helping off of Steph. They're not helping off of Clay. So Wiggins has a one-on-one here, and these were the kind of situations he did not get in Minnesota, where the defense didn't have other players they had to worry about off ball, so they could load up on Wiggins. We saw this all playoffs, really. Again, we see Poole and Clay put the defense in rotation, and Wiggins is able to step up for a wild finish. Where again, his tools are best served when he has a runway, when he has a lot of area and time to jump, and he doesn't have to work in tight spaces and create a lot of offense by himself. When he can just jump over and dunk on people, and that is like a valuable thing, especially on a team like Golden State with so many other stars who can create. And it's not like Wiggins' shot creation skills are like totally useless. As someone who can create against mismatches or create shots off the dribble in spurts, especially when your other shot creators are either off the floor or taken away by the defense, that ability to dribble into a step back mid range every once in a while, even if it's not necessarily like a primary component of his game anymore, it's a useful thing to have. And again, that was present on his tape from college, high school. A guy who can do the off dribble creation stuff, and maybe the consistency was pretty weak, and there were obvious issues, but he certainly can do it for a guy of his athletic tools, and in a smaller role and lower kind of doses even. I think that's been a really effective way for Wiggins to shine. Again, like these tools and the athleticism once he gets into space, the ability to like fully knock back a very strong human being in Al Horford and finish through that contact is really impressive. And again, Wiggins in transition was awesome in college. And I think that's kind of an interesting approximator to plays like this, where you just see how much space he has to work on all of these plays. And Wiggins is a player that can't create his own space, but when he has it created for him, he is so well able to take advantage of it. And I think players like him in college who were awesome in transition, maybe you can look at that and say, hey, I don't know if this guy is going to be a great creator in the half court, but with space, he can really execute. And I think shaedon Sharpe is a nice example of that in the 2022 draft. And a comparison I'm kind of surprised I've not really seen. Wiggins and shaedon have very different games, but as guys who are super vertically explosive and often cast as high upside primary scorers, I think there's a lot of similarities in their tape. Where again, if you look at shaedon's highlights, and I think the Johnny Davis highlight scout I did was relevant here. It's not a lot of easy creation. It's a lot of stuff like this where he's using his explosion to kind of sorry, this is the kind of stuff you won't see on the highlight tapes, which I had my clips mixed up. Where when you give shaedon a one-on-one, and when you don't have a tilted defense for him, and when he has to tilt the defense himself, he kind of struggles. He's not the burstiest. His handle isn't the greatest. His just general feel and decision making isn't awesome, which again are all similar parallels to what Andrew Wiggins dealt with. But again, we talk about the highlight scouting. Even on impressive plays like this, where shaedon's able to separate for a step back three, you'll notice on a lot of these that it's kind of because he isn't able to separate on the initial drive. His burst just isn't that high level. He kind of struggles to get initial separation from stronger point of attack defenders. And that could definitely become an issue. But what he is really amazing at is the quick backdoor cuts, where he can use his explosiveness to get separation and then rise up for easy dunks as well. You'll see him kind of get post entries like this, which is a play type that Wiggins did a good amount in college as well, where he can use his great explosion to rise up and finish like that. And it's not like shaedon, again, doesn't have any shot creating ability. As you kind of mentioned with Wiggins, in spurts, I think he can be a guy who scores in the mid-range, who can hit some off-dribble threes for your offense. But I think an ideal role for shaedon could be a third or fourth scorer who isn't necessarily creating a ton of offense or is the primary guy or the primary star even, but someone who can work off of a player like Steph, who commands so much defensive attention, and he can eat on transition and on cuts and secondary pick and rolls and dribble handoffs and all of that good stuff. And as we're seeing with Wiggins, that combined with some pretty good defense, which I think shaedon probably won't be as good of a defender as Wiggins, but his tools are awesome, so you never know. But I think you could have a pretty valuable player even without shaedon being a more conventional star. So just kind of an interesting parallel, I think, and also really cool to look back at Wiggins and how he's developed. And I probably get to clickbait title this next Andrew Wiggins, shaedon Sharpe, but I don't really know. Bye.